right, hey everyone. Today we are going to be talking about Fundamentals Level 3. This book is still in the process of being finalized. It's going to be available right after the holiday season for 2020. So you're going to see as I'm flipping through the pages, they're not in color yet because that's the last stage right before it's available. So don't worry about that it's not in color. I just wanted to give you an overview of where this is going in case you're looking at the Casey and Friends method and you're like, does this, ever go anywhere? This is where it's going. So this is level 3 fundamentals. In level 3 fundamentals, the kids already know how to read notes in both C position and middle C position. They know basic rhythm with quarter notes, half notes, dotted half notes, whole notes. They know about ties. They know about rests, all these sorts of things. In level 3, we're just kind of building on the knowledge of level 2. So just a quickie on the back cover, you'll see that they already know all these friends that are lightly colored, and they're going to be meeting these new friends here, getting up into both F and G positions. And they're going to be learning about eighth notes, eighth rests, and dotted quarter notes in this level. So that is what it is that we're talking about today. Daniel's here with us. He's learning for the first time too. So if he has any questions, he can pop in. This book starts off kind of just reviewing exactly what I just said with the kids. Hey, these are things you already know, and these are things you don't know yet. You're going to be meeting these new notes, and you're going to be learning about eighth notes predominantly. So right away, the comics get the kids started again. The old characters are there, and we go right into meeting new friends. I wanted to have the more complex rhythm get introduced first, but the kids would not let that happen. They were like, I see the cover, there's going to be new friends. Like, I can't tell you, the kids are excited to meet these new friends. They want to know who these notes are. So, as much as from a teaching perspective, I wanted to do eighth notes and then introduce new friends, the kids won't allow it. They skip through the whole book just to get to the new friends. So, that's where we get started. We get started off meeting Artsy A, who's in the space right above Mr. Face. And she's messing with him because he's always so grouchy and all. So she's just funny. She's fine. We get into our next friend, Between. He is a tween growing up. The kids are getting a little bit older by the time they get to this book. And they're like really aware. They don't need a little kitty kind of friend anymore, like our good old buddy Seesaw C. They've been at this for a little while, and they're growing up, and it's nice to see the friends get a little bit older too. And then we get a shocker in the story here around page 24, where the monkey, who has been a menace in level 1 and 2, reappears and is now a lawyer. He has learned all of the rules of music, and he is back to teach the kids the rules, as he says. So the hands are, reasonably suspicious about this monkey lawyer suddenly appearing, but the monkey is here just spewing facts and rules. He's explaining things to the hands. One of the things that he first explains to the hand is the rule about there is a rule. I'm on page 29 here. There is a rule. Once a note is sharp or flat, it stays sharp or flat for the whole measure, unless made natural. And the hands have a lot of questions about that. The kids have a lot of questions about that. And with the monkey's help, we start kind of getting into the nuances of how are we supposed to remember this, that it stays sharp or flat? There's a little worksheet exercise for them to kind of go through so that they have a chance to do this. Now, as they go on in music, they remember this section. So later on, if you're in any of the other music books and normal music, and they are forgetting that a note stays sharp or flat for the measure, you just remind them of this part, and there's something there for them to grab onto. They really do latch onto this part of the story. So this leads us into Exposition, and then the monkey lawyer is running them through some scales, and he's explaining that to them. Again, all the rules are written down and broken down so that the friends can learn. So by the time you get to page 42, Luigi is back with his pizzas, and he is teaching more about rhythm. In come the eighth notes. And what you'll see here is the pizzas now evolve. You're going from just quarter notes to, eighth notes in the pizzas. And the kids are like, oh yeah, that's right, there is eight slices. Like, they really haven't thought to question it beforehand. And they've been totally fine with their, quarter cut pizzas. And they, like, it didn't even occur to them to challenge me earlier. So in this section, Luigi starts breaking down about how eighth notes work, and this gets back to our clapping, right? So if you remember in level 2, it was all built off of itself. It was 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in level 3 now, once we have eighth notes, we keep the same clapping movement, but we're just going to be building on it, right? So now we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and coming in. And so it is the eighth note is now the clap. The quarter note is now the clap down, right? So you're going out in the same movements, right? But now this is a half note. So the kids have to do 2 of these to get a full whole note. And then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, I know that, like, that might seem a little suspicious at first, but, like, we change time signatures all the time in music. So, like, don't freak out. Like, the kids can adjust and change. You do have to, like, help them through this transition period a little bit so that they can fully get it. But all the things are there, and once they kind of make that connection, they're really good to go. So you just have to be prepared for some of your kids that you're going to go back and read this section a couple times to get them okay with making this transition. But the same way that it was in level 1, we get into a really basic song where they're clapping it, they're counting it, they're having those shapes show up, which is, again, something that we have available for you. More exercises if the shapes are helpful for the kids, which, again, I would say it's a small percentage, but for that percentage of kids that the shapes work for, like, it really works. There's no reason not to have them. So we start off with some, really basic songs, and as usual, we just start, like, increasing, what they have to do a little bit more, and it's not hard, and it's not a big deal, and the comics really, I think, breaks it down pretty well and answers the questions for the kids. So in my experience, some kids, you just read it once and they're good to go. Other kids, this section, you're going to go back and revisit 2, 3, 4 times over the course of the book just to kind of reinforce this information in their minds. So by the time we get halfway through this book at page 56 for the halfway review, right, you have covered eighth notes, you've met new friends, you're up in F position, you've reinforced talking about lines and spaces and how sharps and flats work, and counting. So at this point, we jump into some chords. We got chords popping in here, and the chords, we're going with the easy, hard, hardest, right? So we just increase the complexity of the songs a little bit at a time, and the kids love the challenge. They're like, oh, I could do the easy, let me do the next one. We add in 4 chords, so now we have 1 and 4 chords popping in, and they're talking about it. The kids are struggling a little bit with their fingers. Our hand is, struggling as usual. And so, again, we don't make the songs hard. It's totally fine. the monkey is explaining the rules and how Roman numerals are a part of music. And, you know, he is a really nice relief, because the hands are so aggravated with this monkey who's turned on them and become Mr. Informative rather than a menace. And so it's like a nice kind of tension relief, because things are getting harder for them. And he's a good character. Next section, we add in dudette. I'm over here at page 68. We got a little flirtation going on here between the dude and the dudette, but not really. It's just a little. And once we have the dudette, we're up into G position, and we are able to just cruise through. So we get into a section now where we just have a couple songs where the kids are trying songs out. That's through page 77. And at 78, we're like, hey, we need to know a few more details, and this is why the monkey is here. Luigi recruits him to explain some Italian words, legato and staccato, and the monkey is there to explain the rules about those. So again, we go easy, hard, hardest. We get into a challenge, right? We have staccato notes showing up. We got eighth notes here. We have, you know, all sorts of things popping up into the songs. But again, the kids can do it. Like, it's just not that big of a deal. Last but not least, we get into, at page 89-ish, we're getting into dotted corner notes. There is a rule. A dot is equal to half the value of the note it dots. And the hands are like, what? But we break that down again. We're like, listen, remember, we're always building on something you already know. You know that a dotted half note is 3 beats, right? Like, let's explain why you know that, actually. So we break down that math right here. And the kids are like, oh, right. So we can explain dotted whole notes. They can get that. And after they're like, oh, I totally get this, then we explain dotted quarter notes, which, you know, 1.5 is kind of a complicated, weird concept to wrap your head around, especially when you're like 8. So, you know, we just give them a chance to do that. That pretty much takes us to the end of level 3. Towards the end here, we're getting into just a quiz to review all the things that we've learned, which again, what we've learned in this book is that we have new friends, we have new rhythm, and we're able to play songs that are, you know, much more complicated, and you're really starting to see how the Casey and Friends music is going to kind of really blend into like normal music, and how the kids are going to transition out of Casey and Friends with a really solid basis of knowledge. So I hope that is helpful, so you can see where this is going. And when we get this book done in color, we will make another video and let you know how it all turned out in the end. So thanks so much for that. Daniel, do you have any questions?
No, that sounds great to me.
All right, cool. Well, we'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.